If you got your real estate license in the last 4 to 5 years and you're still around, congratulations, you didn't become a statistic. It's been a really rough go for realtors as of late. I mean, home sales this year in the US are only slightly better than they were during the great financial crisis. And keep in mind, there's like an extra 100 million people living in that country. Home sales in Canada are worse than times in 2007, 2010, 2012. And again, the population has increased like 15 million people since back then. But 2025 is about to be a whole lot better, and that's what I'm talking about in this video. First things first, contrary to popular belief, realtors don't give a shit about the prices. I hear this all the time on every social media platform. Oh, you're a realtor, you just want the prices to go up. If home values go up $50,000, I make like an extra $500 on one sale selling a home. What I'd much prefer is the amount of sales that I do to increase. If I do 20 more sales, I make 200 grand, not $500. You know, I care about the price as it pertains to the happiness of my clients. I want my clients to make money, but at the end of the day, the price has very little to do with how much money I actually make as a realtor in my business. So as realtors, we're focused on home sales, the sales volume, how many homes are turning over in a given year, and that's about to get a whole lot better. So number one, the overnight lending rate in Canada has come down 175 basis points already. That's a shitload. The overnight lending rate has come down about 50 basis points in the US, and this is gonna spur a lot of buyer demand over the course of the next year, possibly the next 2-3 years, which I'm gonna talk about later on in the video. And number two, sellers, in my opinion, a lot of them are going to start to capitulate. Now, this is not a good thing, and it's definitely not a good thing for the sellers. Unfortunately, I think it's going to be a good thing for realtors. You know, I've been having conversations for the last 3 years with sellers. Let's wait till next spring. We're going to wait till next spring. If I don't get my price, I'm gonna wait till next spring, right? I've been hearing this over and over, and it's been the same conversation for 3 years, right? And a lot of these people need to sell. The expenses are too high. They can't carry it anymore. And I think it's getting to a point where they are running out of time. There's no more savings left. There's no assets left to liquidate to cover the costs of those. They need to pay people back. They owe money to people. And I think regardless of where the prices sit next year, they're gonna have to let these properties go. And the result of that is that you're gonna have your listings, for the first time in 3 years, actually start selling. When you get a listing, there's gonna be a much higher chance of that listing actually getting sold because sellers are gonna be more willing to cooperate with you on what the price in the market should be. Number three, with interest rates coming down, people can afford to carry a loan of a bigger purchase price. And the result of that, because prices haven't really gone up, I don't know about every market, but I can speak to my market, prices haven't gone up. And the gap between, say, a condo and a townhome has gotten a lot smaller. The gap between a townhome and a detached has gotten a lot smaller. It used to be about 400,000 or 500,000. Now it's literally like 150K. Because that gap has gotten so small and interest rates have now come down and that gap hasn't widened yet, you're gonna have a lot more people selling their condos, moving up to a townhome, selling their townhome, moving up to a detached home, and the result of that is net 2 sales in the market. So I think over the next year, you're probably gonna see a lot more move up buyers and sellers. Now, the fourth reason, I guess, is that tons of realtors have left the industry, and I know it's not reflected in the actual number of licenses likely being held in your market. That's because it's a lot easier to be part-time now with, electronic signing and a lot of jobs like Uber and stuff that you can kind of do part-time and make your own schedule around. But realtors have left. They've definitely left. And, there's a saying in the stock market where it doesn't really matter how your portfolio does, you just want to beat the market, right? So if the S&P is down 20% and you're down 10%, you've essentially beat the market. Well, it's the same thing in real estate, right? If sales are down 20%, but you're flat, you did the exact same amount of sales that you did last year, you beat the market, you made up market share, right? So like, let's just say the overall amount of sales in your market are 1,000 and you did 10 last year, you did 1% of the overall share of the sales in your market. Well, if sales come down to 800 and you still did 10%, well, now you did like whatever that is, 1.4% overall market share of the sales in your market. So you increased market share. You picked up more market share, more realtors left. You did the more of the overall amount of sales that happen in your market. So when sales pick up, the overall sales that you do should be higher than the last time that your market saw that amount of sales. Even the realtors that only do 3-4 deals a year that sell like their best friend's mom's house and stuff like that, all those realtors are gone. So now all of those sales are gonna flood to the realtors who have weathered this storm, who have been around. And for that reason, your business is likely gonna pick up a lot next year just by way of you still being here, still transacting, still doing what you're supposed to be doing on a daily basis. And number 5, if you're in Canada, the mortgage rules have changed, right? You can now buy a new build home if you're a first-time home buyer, put less than 20% down, amortize that loan over 30 years instead of 25 years. And the result of this is, when I spoke to my broker, it's an extra $50,000 to $60,000 in purchasing power. And that's without the interest rates coming down as well. So buyers may be able to, first-time home buyers specifically, may be able to afford an extra $70,000, $80,000 worth of home this year that they didn't have last year. And on top of that, the insured mortgage cap raised from $1 million to $1.5 million. Previously, you needed $300,000 to buy a $1.5 million home. Now you only need $125,000. Yes, you need a massive annual income to qualify for that loan amount. However, if you're buying with your family and you have 4 people on that mortgage, it should be very doable. So you're gonna have, probably sales pickup for detached homes. You're gonna have sales pickup for first-time home buyers. You're gonna have sales pickup in pretty much every single sector of the market. And again, being a realtor in an environment where sales volumes are increasing is obviously very lucrative. And then number 6, variable rates are expected to be lower than 4% at some point this year. High 3s, 3.7, 3.8. And the result of that is now, at the peak of rates, people were getting stress tested at like 8.5%. Like my mortgage is 6.8 on this house, right? I got stress tested at 8.8%. Well, if you're getting a variable at 3.7, you're only getting stress tested at 5.7, which again, the overall amount of borrowing power that gives you on a mortgage application is massive, again, resulting in more buyer demand. And then the 7th reason, and I've talked about this before on my channel, you've probably seen these videos, the law of polarity. Another way of saying is that's always darkest before it's light. You can't have a market where sales are below the 10-year average forever. At some point, it's gonna have to bounce back up above that to contrast how low the sales have been. You can't have one without the other, and there's a million ways of saying this, right? What goes up must come down. You don't know what you have until it's gone. All of these things are just another way of saying contrast, polarity. We've had now basically 3 years where the amount of sales happening in the market suck. We're very due for a year where the amount of sales happening are good or decent or something like that. So if you're still here after 3 years of this, I believe your hard work is finally going to bear some fruits. You're gonna see the fruits of your labor in 2025. I'm personally super excited for it. If you're super excited for it, make sure you subscribe to the channel. I'm that Agent Kelly, and I'm making moves to move you. Peace.